the principles of AI have been with us for many years. I mean, just this concept of a computer system that can actually perform a task that would normally be done by a human. And it's based on algorithms, in effect, yes, no questions. And it's been a sort of a mainstay of pretty much anything to do with computing for the last 60 years or so. However, it's moved on quite a bit since then. And we've always had a sense of what it might be, what it might become. And these quotes go back about sort of 10, 11 years or so, where you get Stephen Hawking in a typically understated way talking about the end of mankind, or Elon Musk, of course, one of our favorite people at the moment, warning about another threat to mankind. Risks to civilization and the like, but nobody was ever really quite clear on what it could entail, and what were the positives that might come from it. In terms of how the charity sector viewed it, again, it was well, beware of these robot managers. It's all going to lead to further fundraising scandals, like back in 2015, with vulnerable people being relentlessly asked for money by automated systems. Was this going to be the end of fundraising departments as we know them? Whilst at the same time, there was a growing acknowledgement that actually this could actually revolutionise how charities work, and indeed how they can raise their money. And I think as time goes on, we will see who was more accurate in their assessment. Certainly, within the last couple of years, you get increasing headlines about wiping out humanity, nice understated comment, or AI panic, robots are coming, and so on. And then, of course, about 2 years ago, we had the advent of ChatGPT. And that's really the one that set the biggest cat among the pigeons. Now, as I say, I mean, AI itself isn't new. I mean, not even in charity fundraising. Plenty of CRM and other systems use it, as well as machine learning. And as individuals, we benefit from its functionality. ChatGPT simply succeeded in bringing the power and flexibility of open AI services to the rest of us in the forms of a chatbot. In effect, they simplified it. And the fact that it is a generative system means it actually offers a degree of seemingly creative output. Initially free to use, there are subscription versions as well. It's a conversational model, which means that in effect anyone can use it. It's now become the fastest growing consumer application in history. It reached its first million users just 5 days after being put out there. Within 2 weeks, it had 30 million regular users. And as of today, it has roughly 400 million users worldwide. So it's been adopted pretty swiftly. How people use it, of course, is another question. So the points to consider as far as the charity sector is concerned, the sense is that there are roles that are threatened by it. But I think that probably just needs a degree of change in how people think of it. I mean, the point is, it's not just going to affect those with data entry or repetitive tasks like bookkeepers and database managers. I mean, you have AI avatars nowadays already able to deliver one-to-one training in a very human way. Content writing, again, there are some content writing roles that are going, but some charities will be able to bring that sort of material in-house. And newly related roles are springing up in charities to feed that. But one of the constant issues raised by young people in the charity sector is they're perceived to be sort of held back by a lack of experience. But basically, you don't need any experience to react to a prompt writer. So I think there are sort of plenty of opportunities there for young people to get their feet in the door that way. And I think we're more likely to see mundane work being taken away from staff, actually enabling the organisations to use their staff in much more creative and interesting roles that actually are closer to their core message, while the background stuff is being dealt with automatically, as it were. Some of the other points to consider is obviously digital as a means of charities doing their business through the internet and so on has been around for 20, 30 years or so. But what's interesting is that there's been an exponential growth in the use of it in terms of fundraising. And some of it was driven by COVID, so that you have Charity Digital reporting that in 2019, something like 20% or so of donors would give their gifts digitally online. Within 2 years, this had risen by another sort of risen by about 6%. But a couple of years after that, it's risen to 44%. You then got things like the Big Give, their Christmas challenge, annual online match funding campaign, which has also seen substantial growth. And in 2019, before COVID, it was raising about 15.5 million for about 500 to 600 charities. By last year, this had risen to 45 million by over 1,200 charities. So in effect, the ease of use of digital means of fundraising and the ease of use by the donors has altered considerably, and that will feed into how, in effect, we're able to capture data and use that to inform how we engage with our sort of giving public from that. And in terms of the digital divide, there's this sort of sense that, okay, is it just the big charities that are going to benefit from this? And that's not actually the case. That said, Charity Digital did report a couple of years ago that about 40% of charities said that they were poor at digital fundraising, while 25% didn't even fundraise digitally at all, whilst acknowledging that they had to get a grip on this, because essentially digital and AI are going to run hand in hand from now on. Now, what I'm going to be talking about later on is there's plenty of help out there in how to do it. In terms of the trends you need to recognise, clearly there's been an increase in contactless payments. You're not necessarily going to be rattling it in on the street corner, but you can see that there are contactless ways of taking payment that are increasingly available. And you can virtually go into any church nowadays, and there's a little tablet there that you tap to make your 5, 10, 20 pound donation on. And it's all terribly easy. There's also the evolution of social media, the development of digital currencies within the blockchain world, the general sort of trend towards automation based on AI, virtual reality in terms of assisting with fundraising, cloud-based storage with all its security implications, and the essence of gaming for fundraising. But these are all necessary sort of factors and prompts in terms of how you connect with your prospective donors and your users and how they can connect with you. I might add that just to throw in a quote from an old colleague of mine, Ian McClintock, who said that, by the way, having a Facebook page isn't exploiting digital. It's just catching up on where society was over a decade ago. There's much more out there to be used. So if we go into how some of the charities are using AI, now in these instances, this is about operational efficiency. Now, there's a rather smart idea from the West of England Centre for Inclusive Living, who have developed a chatbot called Cecil from Wessel. And he's designed to function like an easy read document. And basically, he's assisting disabled individuals, including those who are neurodivergent or have learning difficulties, by providing accessible information and support for them, which then frees up Wessel's own staff to be doing other stuff. The RNLI has developed rather clever AI-powered image recognition systems to enhance their search and rescue operations. They analyze aerial and satellite imagery to identify potential distress signals, which obviously speeds up their speed and therefore rescue processes. Guide dogs for the blind have I hadn't realized this, but they actually use AI technologies in their breeding programs for guide dogs. They use AI algorithms to analyze genetic data and predict the potential traits of their guide dogs. And the Surrey Wildlife Trust are using well, they have a project called Space for Nature, which uses a combined AI system that combines with sort of Earth observation satellites to monitor and improve wildlife habitats across Surrey. So they identify compatible habitats that will enhance biodiversity. You've then got data analysis. Now, I'm assuming most of the sort of viewers of this are not going to have huge memberships or huge databases of either supporters or prospective supporters, but the principles of data analysis remain the same, because obviously, as we're increasingly dealing with our supporters digitally, we are capturing information about them, but we need to know how to interpret it. And there are now systems out there that enable you to use it. So Parkinson's use AI-powered donor analysis of donor preferences and behavior, which then helps them to personalize communication with them. Cancer Research UK, similar idea, analysis and interpretation of cancer-related, i.e. genomic data, to enhance their understanding of the disease and then identify potential treatments. Macmillan, on the other hand, employ AI-powered predictive analytics to identify potential donors, who are most likely to contribute, which means that they can focus their fundraising efforts on those with a higher propensity to give. And then Homeless Link have developed an AI-driven recommendation and risk classification system that assesses the quality of incoming alerts from the public regarding rough sleepers. So it enables them to prioritize them based on the likelihood of successful outreach and obviously improving their service from there. You've then got, of course, chatbots, and they're obviously the way into virtually all AI nowadays in terms of organizations' websites. Now, Shout, which is part of Mental Health Innovations, has developed the UK's first 24-hour text messaging service for mental health assistance. And again, it uses AI to analyze text conversations, helping to identify patterns and then enable them to provide the right sort of support to individuals in crisis. MenCap have put together an Understand Me chatbot, which guides users through conversations with a chatbot called Aaron, who is a persona. I say persona because it's not an actual person, born with a learning disability. So in effect, it's educating somebody through interaction with somebody, in inverted commas, with learning disabilities, to understand their challenges. Then the Child Poverty Action Group and Dogs Trust, they use chatbots on their websites to engage with potential donors and provide instant responses to inquiries, which obviously streamlines their processes and improves donor engagement. And Age UK uses chatbots to handle common inquiries from older individuals who are seeking support and information. Again, it's instant responses. They deal with frequently asked questions, and they can direct users to the relevant resources to support them, which obviously is a major improvement in their sort of service delivery. What you've got with all of these is the beginnings of conversational fundraising. So there are sort of interactions that, when you think in terms of the straight face to face, here you've got something in a much more sort of controlled in environment, and I think that has considerable implications for the sector. And then, of course, you've got organisations that are getting quite creative with how they use AI, having recognised the potentials. one of the cleverest ones I've seen is the Resuscitation Council, which created Lifesaver, which is an interactive film that uses AI to simulate emergency situations in life-saving techniques. So it allows you, the user, to make sort of real-time decisions in crisis scenarios. So it affects saving people's lives. NACRO have developed something just as clever. They've called it the Adaptive Media Interview Coach. And this, again, is another AI-driven tool that uses emotion recognition to provide personalized feedback to then help individuals with social challenges prepare for their first job interviews once they've left prison. NACRO is about resettling offenders. Save the Children UK, they use AI-driven content to personalize messaging, which enables them to analyze donor data and their preferences to generate their sort of targeted content. And Amnesty International use natural language generation tools to automate the creation of reports, updates, and articles. Now, this isn't actually, sorry, forgive me. This isn't actually, sorry. This isn't actually sort of fundraising literature as such, but it is useful in generating what they'd see as persuasive content to support their fundraising efforts. And Pancreatic Cancer UK used Dataro to analyze donor data and then predict giving patterns from that, which enables more targeted and effective fundraising campaigns for them. So, I mean, plenty of people are using it, and some people are using it in novel ways, and some are just using it for sort of the usual sort of work. But I mean, all options are open to everyone. So in terms of what charities, therefore, generally should be using AI in fundraising to do, well, certainly automating processes. It can take care of routine, repetitive tasks, make them more efficient, make them more consistent, saves you time and money. So this would be, I don't know, processing donations, maintaining donor information, scheduling regular communications, or analyzing social media to identify potential donors. You've then got content creation. Now, this is always the thing that people dwell on as being sort of, this is just the wow factor. AI can definitely produce perfectly respectable content, but you're going to need to feed it with the data, the case studies, the quote, the sense of what your charity is and does, if it's actually going to provide effective fundraising copy. So always think of AI-generated content as being your first draft. You've put in some initial thoughts, it's given you some structure, it's given you some sort of hints as to what you might say. Sometimes it won't be what you want, and you just go back to it and say, nope, do it again, and it will. But never think of it as being the finished article. It's really clever, and it always learns. It learns from every single question you ask it, and it's learning every day. So you'll find what it produces improves time and time again, providing you're feeding it with the right story. It can actually help you tell your story as well. Charity Digital had a report quite recently where they mentioned a giving platform called Give and Gain, which it's like Just Giving. So in effect, a volunteer fundraiser signs up to it and starts to put in their sort of what they're going to do to fundraise for this charity. And they have a facility on there that says, well, okay, fine, you've written your story, but press this button and we'll see if we can add a little sparkle to your story. So it's actually proactively helping them improve their story to help your fundraising. And you then have obviously got the chatbot's ability to engage with people once they have been sufficiently educated, fed with enough data. And again, their every interaction with a human being means that they learn and they never forget, which is obviously quite a useful thing. There's one particular chatbot that WaterAid used in their Untapped fundraising campaign, which in effect uses another persona to take you around a village in Africa that needs water, and in effect tells the story by taking you there, as it were. The campaign raised £8 million, so it must have worked. I think they were very pleased with it. And then, of course, you've got AI's ability to digest and interpret data, which has become such an essential tool in understanding donor behavior. So, how and when people have given, predicting possible repeat giving, and advising on approaches as well. So, all of this is out there as a potential resource for you as a sector. So this just sort of confirms some of the more detailed stuff in terms of predictive analysis, personalizing communication, the personalized giving experience, which every charity that's really the gold standard to aim for. So all of this you can read at your leisure. So, but I think for me the most important thing, though, in all of this is that what it does for fundraising, it then does for the rest of the charity sector. And in effect, the fundraising team's use of AI is forcing charities to think seriously about AI and what else it can do for them. And that can only be a good thing. So in terms of the tools available to you, obviously ChatGPT is the one that everybody knows. But and there are facilities like Midjourney, TinyWow, which will help you create images that will accompany your fundraising text. TinyWow, I might add, is free. The Pen is the Write for Me bot, which is part of ChatGPT sort of suite of. They have a range of different programs like Canva as well that again will help create content for you. Write for Me is sort of a more sophisticated writing tool than purely ChatGPT. But also in terms of research, fundraising research, I mean, everyone's familiar with Directory of Social Change's Guide to Major Trusts and Charities Aid Foundation's Directory of Grant-Making Trusts. But what's interesting is that the growth of organizations like the Norwegian company which have produced Induct. Now, this is actually set up to scan the world, quite literally the world of philanthropy, and identify donors from around the world, from every sort of walk, whether they're sort of high net worth individuals or grant-making foundations or companies with a philanthropic element. And it's become a free resource. You simply sign up and you put in your requirements in terms of what areas you're fundraising for, either geographically or topically, and it will find a collection of funders for you. There are others that provide similar services that I'll go into later, but this is one that it's sort of a new kid on the block, but it's just this idea of the growth of what you might term grant robots, which is going to be quite a major shift, and I think is going to cause some challenges for the likes of Directory of Social Change and CAF. There are other tools in terms of data analysis. I mean, I won't go into these in any sort of great detail, but some of these are free, some of these are not. Some of these are made by major organizations like Salesforce and IBM, and Microsoft. Azure is a particularly good program, but others are slightly more niche. But again, they are going to be sort of vital tools as you increase your degree of digital engagement with your supporters rather than face to face. So on the face of it, you think this is pretty good going. Pretty good start by a sector that is forward thinking and likes to sort of keep out of the game. So Charity Digital reported in their skills report last year that 61% of charities say that they're using AI in one form or another in day-to-day operations, which is great. 19% of them are using them for fundraising, research, or bid writing, which is a bit of a surprise, really, because you think in terms of the content production possibilities, but that's how it is at the moment. But what's interesting is that 83% of grant-making trusts and foundations in the UK are using AI. Now, one can assume that this is to deal with the increased volume of propositions that they're getting. What's actually quite amusing is the fact that, of course, they're doubtless using AI to process grant applications that in all likelihood will possibly have been developed using AI as well. So one wonders at some point a human's going to have to be involved in this. But as I say, is this a great start? Well, maybe not. UK fundraising indicated in a recent report that a national survey of industries across the UK asking employees whether they would be prepared to use AI, or at least be likely to use AI in their day-to-day work. The charity sector came bottom in terms of willingness to to take on this new tool. Now, this might be because an uncertainty about whether, certainly in fundraising, for instance, AI has sufficient understanding of the ethics of fundraising. My point is that it learns every time it's asked the question or given an instruction. So I don't think one can hide behind that argument for very long. And even if people are not using it directly for fundraising at the moment, it can be used to guide fundraisers through the process of making the ethical decisions around fundraising, such as priming them as to what questions to ask, as might be the case in sort of gift acceptance or refusal dilemmas. So it's still a useful tool, but there is a degree of reluctance. But it's also possibly because they're thinking, well, all of this is beyond us. I mean, how do we understand? How can we make this happen for us? Well, I mean, as I say, there's a lot of help out there. Now, Google Ads grants. I don't know if everyone knows about this, but they've got a program which offers free advertising credits to non-profit organizations, which can help you promote your fundraising campaigns and reach an audience through Google Ads. I think it's worth something like £10,000 a year, and you sign up, and you're not getting free content, but what you're getting is being pushed further up search lists and all the rest. So that in effect you're appearing when someone sort of goes into Google, you're appearing higher up than you would otherwise. There are a lot of chatbot platforms, some of which will offer either free plans or discounts for charities. There's Chatfuel, DARS, and ManyChat. They allow charities to create AI-powered chatbots to engage with donors, or at least deal with sort of inquiries. There's chatbot.com, which provides a free team plan for registered charities. And then there's also the one rather wonderfully titled Bot Penguin, which offers a 50% discount for charities and a 100% discount for those involved in animal welfare, presumably not just penguins. So there's that. There are social media analytical tools out there, which Facebook, X, LinkedIn, they all provide free analytics that can enable charities to begin to understand, get insights into their social media performance. So it's understanding donor engagement, campaign reach, demographics, and it's going to help you improve your fundraising strategies. You've also got things like data visualization tools. Tableau Public and Google Data Studio are probably the prime examples, and they offer free versions that allow you to create visually appealing and interactive data visualization. So again, you can present your data in a more compelling and accessible way. And then there are open source machine learning libraries that can you use to, in effect, you get access to their AI algorithms and predictive models that you can apply to your fundraising analysis. So that's just just scratching the surface of what's there. At this point, I would normally, in a room, say, right, should we sort of try and construct something using ChatGPT or Gemini together? And the usual thing I do is sort of say, okay, give me a task in terms of provide text for a Facebook posting or a series of tweets on a particular topic. I think it's going to be slightly challenging on this, but obviously these links will work when you're able to get hold of the slides, which will be distributed after this. So just click on those links and basically have a play with it and see what it can do. What I'd recommend is that you sort of ask it very specific questions in terms of writing something for a specific audience, whether it's geographic or age related or topic related, and put in web links to what you do or where you're doing stuff, and just see what it can create on that. People generally find that quite a revelation. And the main thing is it's not difficult to do. If you're thinking at this point, look, I still don't know where to start. There's a lot of help out there in terms of the charity sector specifically. I mean, EasyChat offer specifically AI chatbots specifically for charities. Charity Digital, which I'd mentioned before, I would urge you to sign up and join Charity Digital tomorrow if you're not already a member, because not only do they have essential guides and sort of assistance, but they also offer access to cut price software. So they're definitely worth pursuing. Beyond Me, again, is another sort of outfit that will help build chatbots. And Zoe Amar is a particularly good writer on this. And if you can afford the frankly extortionate subscription to Third Sector, she writes for them on a regular basis. And I'd urge keeping up with her. If you still don't know where to start, there's another resource for you. Set up, and I must declare a degree of personal interest here because I recently stepped down as chair of this organization. But Charity Excellence was founded by an old colleague of mine called Ian McClintock, who we originally created this system to provide a guide, a resource for charity governance in terms of policies, whether it was Charity Commission, whether it was the Ombudsman, or whether it was the Office of Fundraising, whatever it was. And then would provide you with sort of examples of sort of, this is how you can run your charity doing this way. But Ian very swiftly recognized where AI was taking the charity sector. So he has created not just, as you see, the ChatGPT toolkit, a bid writing service as well, but also donor finders, where he regularly updates a database of a whole range of potential donors. And the important thing is that all of this is free. You just sign up, and you've got access to all of the resource. And all of this is powered by a particularly intelligent rabbit, the tech bunny, which why rabbits is a long story that I'd have to tell you another time. But what in effect you do is you ask this tech bunny just about any question, and it will direct you to the source of information for it. It will provide examples. It will provide templates, or at least access to people who have them as well. So again, it's a resource well worth exploring. So in terms of the issues you're going to encounter as you increasingly adopt AI, obviously data privacy and security is going to be a crucial issue. You've got to ensure that you've got robust measures to protect donor information from unauthorized access. You're going to need to strike the right balance between technology and human connection. It's very easy to be seduced by all the stuff that AI will give you, that technology will give you. But obviously, there are some people who don't necessarily want to engage with you digitally. So you're always going to need some means of enabling human contact, which is going to be crucial. So, but again, always think in terms of AI being something that's going to improve what you do. It'll enhance your efficiency and effectiveness, but it doesn't replace what you are and who you are. And again, not all donors are going to be, or other supporters are going to be comfortable with digital platforms anyway. So you just need to find that right sort of balance depending on what your supporter base is. Introducing AI can be expensive in the short term. So obviously there's a degree of cost benefit that's going to need to be gone through. But as I was just explaining, there's a lot of free resource out there as well. So think of it as your sort of staff's time as being the primary cost. But obviously the benefit that will spring from that, if you calculate it right, should be to your advantage. Don't forget that AI operates on patterns and historical data, which doesn't necessarily always capture the full context and nuances of donor behavior. So, I mean, that said, its ability to understand empathy, intuition, it does increase when you think of that NACRO project in terms of AI picking up on somebody's emotions and it shaping their response to that. So yeah, that will become more generally available too. And there's the issue about sort of external providers versus doing it yourself. And then the impact on employment. So the charities are going to need to think in terms of, well, okay, this element of our work could and should be done automatically. We should be investing in systems that would enable us to use that, freeing up our staff to be, I hesitate to use the word, but repurposed, in effect, given, frankly, more human facing and ultimately more rewarding jobs. And then, of course, there's the ethics element of AI in fundraising. Now, ethics, as you won't be surprised, is a point of interest for not just the charity world, but the academic world and government as well. In the academic sector, I mean, before now, it was all about plagiarism, in effect, developing systems to detect the plagiaristic use of material. And that extended into schools as well. But now, of course, you've got the challenge, the problem for them of material that has been produced using AI. So not in, as it were, the students' own work. In effect, it's called on the millions of queries rocketing around the likes of ChatGPT to write something that is not wholly theirs. So there's a point of some concern and interest for them. Going back to the point of the charity sector, Nathan Chappell and Scott Rosenkranz's book, Nonprofit AI, is a great handbook for how we as a sector should use this incredible resource ethically. And the likes of Regare, the fundraising research institute at the University of Plymouth, again, they look into this with a specific eye to fundraising. In effect, bringing together the fundraising world together with academics to try and work a way through this. And then, of course, you have the Institute for Ethics at Oxford, Ethics in AI at Oxford, which is part of a new philosophy department funded by Stephen Schwarzman of Blackstone, the private equity people. One of the world's trillionaires, for want of a better word, who shares the concern, as that word. So much is to come from this. And the fundraising world needs to sort of stay alert to what does come out. So, I mean, and these actually are our responsibilities as far as ethics go. It's that point about prioritizing data privacy, being transparent in our use of data, striking that balance between, in effect, the perfect technical approach versus personalization and donor privacy, not overstepping the mark. Data protection again, there's also AI can become something of an echo chamber in terms of, it's picking up from you what you want it to write about, and it's in effect reacting to what you've fed it. So you must make a point of not excluding particular groups, always making sure that the data sets that you're providing are as sort of diverse as possible, so that it's not just feeding back on a narrow channel of interest, but it's giving you sort of the full picture that you need. And obviously helping you bridge that digital divide, because we need to sort of bring people on board as far as digital and AI is concerned. So, and that's essentially it. And so I'd be happy to take questions, although I've got a pretty good idea what that first question is going to be, and that's this.